Q&Asa. Game on daily.
Welcome to the Q&Asa. I don't really know what was going on at the start there. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's pretend that those were technical difficulties and those are the reasons that I was late today. You don't know if it's bugged out. It was bugged out. It was a very simple bug, in fact. Never mind. How's everyone doing today? We are back. We are live. We are on YouTube and, in theory, Twitch as well, which is a good point. I forgot to bring up the chat for that one. There's never anyone on Twitch, so we won't worry too much. So what we're going to do is Q&Asa. Nice big conversation. So you talk to me, you talk to each other, we go back and forth, and you know how it works by now. You know how it works. Am I able to stop the flashes? No, don't be so sensitive. Episode 13, it's going to be like that. Don't worry, there are quite a few trailers and things. Oh, the lightning is bugging people. Do you know what? I like this one. It's a nice background, but just for you, because I don't want to upset you sensitive types, we're gonna go for, this is gonna be complete nonsense now. I hope you're happy. Which bit of nonsense shall I go for? Not that one, not that one, not that one. That one would be nice. Not gonna do it. We'll go sit in the rain. There's gonna be a big mismatch here. But my rock is still flashing and doesn't belong here at all. And I've got everything is going wrong. Don't worry about whatever the hell that was. Yeah. Yeah. It's World of Warcraft now. So, how's everyone doing? Let's do this show the way we normally do, eh? Let's get right to the beginning and you can tell me what you've all been playing. You love them mushes. Do you actually, Zed? Is this a game that you've played? Should be. Oh no, don't be bugged out again. Would you look at that? It kind of worked. Kind of partly worked. Thank you, Isla, for your 8-month membership badger milestone thing. You also have like 35 months or something going on Twitch as well, which is wild. Did you spell it correctly? You spell everything there correctly, but the sentence once you put the words together was complete nonsense, for what that's worth. So anyway, I'm confusing myself. What have you all been playing? I have been playing things. A little bit of Halo with the group. Maybe some Helldivers. I can't remember if that even happened this week or not. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Darge did it. He did a video game. That's Death Stranding Director's Cut. Darge, do you know how many hours it took you in total? So Remnant 2 because it's cracked. So the ones of you that are playing Remnant 2 at the moment, have you all finished it and now you're just going through doing extra bits and pieces that are fun? Is there space for me? I can download it again. I can download it again. Larry, you're on Infinite Wealth still. That is another one that you can play forever, I imagine. Does the mini games on it, like the Animal Crossing and Pokemon kind of things that are in there, can you play those literally forever? Under 70 hours. Stick to the main line and you can do it in less. 70 hours is a big game, Dodge. That's a big game. So like, it's a difficult one to slot in between Final Fantasy VII and Dragon's Dogma and all the multiplayer things that are going on. Oh, it's an old message. No, Isla, what message? What do you mean it's an old message? What's an old message? Plus, sticking to the main line in anything is a fallacy for you. Why would that be a fallacy? The main line's usually the best bit. Depends on the game. Some games I have to engage with all of the bits and pieces. All of those how long to beat estimates are bullshit. Yeah, none of them. I mean, it's just user submitted data, isn't it? It's not tracked or anything. People can just log on and make stuff up. Yeah, you can like if you want. You don't need to share because conversation gets difficult if it gets crowded. This is fine for this particular show. Replicants here. Phew, that is a massive relief for everybody. Means we can talk about, I don't know. There's quite a bit of stuff like in terms of actual topics. They said like 40 hours for Ghost, as in Ghost of Tsushima. Because I got 50 hours into Ghost of Tsushima before I said chapter 2, I think. Sorry, you had to shelf Infinite Wealth because of Persona 3 Reload. So you're back now. So you took an Infinite Wealth break to play through Persona 3, which is also a massive game, before coming back onto Infinite Wealth. And what's next for you? Like, what's your target to get it finished? Wait a minute, that background, yes, Replicant. It's actually, you missed all the fun. The background initially was Shadow Warrior 3, but the lightning upset people. Manuel Barunarisso, I'm probably saying that entirely wrong. What are the rules for the giveaway? So, those that don't know, there's currently a giveaway going on in the Gaming Arcadia Discord. The rules for it are you do need to be a member of the Gaming Arcadia Discord. You do need to be a member either on YouTube or Twitch or Patreon. Patreon's new, by the way, for those that are unaware. Many avenues to become a member. It only needs to be on the cheapest tier of whichever avenue it is. Once you've done that, get onto Discord and you are then immediately eligible for the Dragon's Dogma 2 giveaway. I can take no credit for the Dragon's Dogma 2 giveaway. That is entirely the generosity of the Darge Knight. He's arranging that, doing that for this little community. So if you want to crack at it, get in there. There's quite a small number of people that are involved in that giveaway, so you know the odds are pretty decent as these kind of things go. So carry on, give me more games. Barry, you have to finish Infinite Wealth and then you're going to go on to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm getting so upset with Chadley. If you've played the original Final Fantasy VII, not remake, but the original, like PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy VII, you would be forgiven for going through that whole game without noticing a single character called Chadley. I don't know for a fact that there aren't any characters called Chadley, but there are definitely not any androids that look like 13-year-old children with silver hair that dictate the entirety of the game. Chadley irritates me. Oh no, has Tom found a real Barry? Yes, yeah. Oh no. No, Tom, you created him. This is an elaborate ruse, isn't it? Barry, Tom makes every character he makes in any video game some variant of Barry. I don't think he ever realized that it was a real name. You're the first. Now he's going to have to pivot and come up with a new character name for all of his characters. Episode 13 has an Uncle Barry, yeah, but Tom created him. That's a Tom invention. Anyway, Replicant, you've been dabbling this week. Did you finish Grand Blue Relink? Is that good? I really want that game. And I don't know when the hell I'll get a chance to play it. Also, oh no, I shouldn't. Barry, you haven't played the OG7, just remake. Wasn't Chadley the one giving summon fights? So Chadley is in remake as a... this isn't spoilers because like Chadley shouldn't be there. So Chadley in 7 remake is exactly as you say. He just appears every now and again, sticks some VR glasses on you and gives you a battle simulator and creates various key bits of materia through the game. In in Rebirth, he's back with a vengeance because he's still doing like that same function, but because Square Enix had to tackle the open world, so Final Fantasy VII Remake is the opening part of the game. It all takes place through Midgar and it's quite linear, as was the original, like the opening of Final Fantasy VII. So it's very much in keeping with it. But in Final Fantasy VII, you get to a point in the game where the world opens up, and you go, "Wow! Now I've got a whole lot to explore in Final Fantasy VII." And that is what Rebirth does. It's that part of the story where the world has opened up entirely. So Square Enix have looked at it and gone, "Whoa, what's a modern open world game look like?" And they've looked over their shoulder and found Assassin's Creed Valhalla and gone, "Right, let's copy Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What mechanism can we possibly use to stick icons all over a map in a way that's like in keeping with the Final Fantasy VII world?" And then some drunk lunatic has come out of the closet and said, "Just make a freaking android. It doesn't need to make sense. It's just a video game." And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Ubisoft icons everywhere. But like, for me, I'm right at the start of the game taking my time doing everything, so this is partly my own fault. But it is just way too prominent. It feels like I'm playing Chadley's Ubisoft Adventure and not Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Dave Mack, how's it going? Can someone help Rizzo? Yeah, you need, I'm afraid you do need to be a member, which does cost a little bit of money. So there's you can do the join button on YouTube right here and now. That should be available, or you can go onto Patreon, or you can do it through Twitch. Once you've got that, there are instructions on the Discord itself. If you have a little look at the setup page on there, it'll tell you how to link your account to it. Then you'll have access to everything, and it is a big busy Discord. So reminds you of JoJo Part 4, Koichi's Bizarre Adventure. That's apt. Sadly, it's not as annoying as Koichi, but yes. Yeah. So, instruction 1 is don't listen to Tony. You have to listen to Tony. He's not to be ignored. Just, you have to be wise enough to not take everything he says too seriously. Not Alex levels of dismissive. Don't completely ignore every word that he says like you should with Alex, but yes, episode 13, that is true. So I can let people in as guests, but the guests don't get the stuff that costs money, the giveaways and things. So still worth doing, still worth coming in to have a chat with us. Make some noise in reception. I'm not mean, I do let people in. Eradication, am I going to have Final Fantasy finished before Dragon's Dogma 2? Absolutely, definitely not. No. I'm going to be still at the start of the second area of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at midnight tomorrow when Dragon's Dogma 2 releases, and I'm not going to wait on playing Dragon's Dogma 2 because I want to get involved with all the community pawns and stuff. I love a bit of community pawn stuff. P-A-W-N, pawn, you know. Love a bit of that. Speaking of Dragon's Dogma 2, because I want to just move straight into a little bit of topic, keep telling me the things that you're playing and I'll bounce about all over the place like I usually do because I'm an idiot, like I'm going to right now. Chronix just mentioned that I've almost finished Baldur's Gate 3. Isla, do you want to play Baldur's Gate 3 tomorrow? I forgot to ask. Depending on what Isla says right now, there's a slim chance we might finish Baldur's Gate 3 tomorrow. If she's busy, then we're not going to finish it tomorrow. But Baldur's Gate 3, we're one session away from the end. Are Patreon supporters eligible for giveaways like YouTube members? Absolutely, Tom. Patreon, I can't remember the steps you need to take to link Patreon to Discord. I think it's actually easier than the YouTube variant, though. I think Patreon does most of the legwork for you. But yes, and Tom, you're a founding badger anyway. You're eligible for everything forever. You know this. You know this. But yes, if you're on a Patreon membership thing, I think it gives you instructions on how to join Discord from there, and it links directly into it. So very much eligible going through that route. Dentist is scary at times. Patrick's brain is fried. Oh, you had to take both the kids to the dentist on your own. I must admit, don't think I knew that you had to. I've heard your daughter. I didn't know you had another child. Every time Jez and me talk about pawns, all you hear is porn. This and porn that. You're right, Barry. Community porn. Pawns. Plural. It's unfortunate, isn't it? Or is it? Tomorrow was going to be nap and head. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it maybe on Sunday. No. Do the things that you need to do. So Baldur's Gate 3 will finish. No, we're not doing it with you dyeing your hair while we play. We'll finish Baldur's Gate 3 on Sunday. That's fine. I am not available to play Baldur's Gate 3 tomorrow. So that'll be on Sunday. His son's about to be 12, so he's less noisy. He's in his room playing Fortnite. Speaking of Fortnite, getting a first-person mode at long last. Eh? Getting a first-person mode. Maybe that will lead on to a formal, like, officially supported VR mode. You can play Fortnite entirely in VR already through the UE VR mod, but only on private servers because it'll be detected as cheating otherwise. You're not playing on Sunday. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3 is like on pause until sometime next week. We'll figure it out. I don't want to loop onto the VR stuff yet. Let's talk about Dragon's Dogma 2. So tell me, everybody, what characters you're making. If you know anything about the game, which I don't particularly, I'm asking you this very selfishly. It's going to influence my decision on what kind of starter class I make. Did you see the Unreal event, Barry? I've seen bits from the game development conference thing. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and we will talk about some of the stuff that was in it. For now, though, tell me about your Dragon's Dogma 2 character plans, because the character creator's been out for over a week, so some of you may have already made your character and already made your pawns, or some of you may be waiting until tomorrow, whenever, tomorrow the next day, to do it when the game actually comes out. But what is your starter character, and what is your starter pawn? Obviously, all the people that are in like this little community, I'm going to be picking the best of your prawns. If I say prawns, it makes it easier. No, it doesn't. I'm going to be picking the best of your pawns to take on my adventures. Maybe rotate it around if the game lets you do that. What's replacing Baldur's Gate 3 as the streamed game? I don't know if anything is. Streaming's tricky. I need to figure out where the streams go. You've made Joel from The Last of Us. What, like a corpse? You know, replicant, your character's going to be magic. I think my pawn's going to be magic. I think my main character's not. Your tank a hot tank. So you're going to be standing in the background and your pawn's going to do all the tanking for you. Fair enough. Barry, you created yourself, so you've done a Tom. You've made an in-game Barry. Tom, you're gonna have to pick something else. Barry's already got your character. If you get Dragon's Dogma 2, you're going in blind as a bat. You have no clue what anyone will be. I assume it gives you some descriptions of, like, I don't actually know how it works in terms of classes and advanced classes and all the rest of it. But I think you get 4 kind of basic classes to start out as, and I don't know how many proper classes later on or how you get to them. Patrick, you're going with a thief with a mage pawn to start out. See, I think, I'm not entirely sure, like I said, I don't know how the advanced classing and stuff works, but I think thief might be the necessary stepping stone to get to the main class that I want. But I would hate to be a thief, so I'm a little bit torn. There's like this telekinetic spear hand class somewhere in the game, which is what I want to discover and be, but if I have to be a thief to get there, that's going to be sad news for me. I can't stealth around. I will see. The game's going to be like quite freeform, isn't it? I'm going to make whatever the hell I want and do whatever the hell I want. Drake, do you get in-game rewards if people hire your pawn or something? Yes, your pawn gets experience. I don't actually know if it gets experience in terms of power. It gets experience of the game world. Your pawn goes out, adventures, learns about the world, and when you adventure with your pawn, it talks to you about like what works in the region that you're in and what kind of enemies you've got and stuff like that. They presumably get more powerful as well. You get some kind of in-game rewards for them going out on adventures with other people. Oh, Twitch subscriber, that's exciting. Welcome Manuba0304. That sounds very much like a bot. I hope you're not a bot. Nothing against bots. They can be very nice. I know a couple of really friendly ones, but you know. Plus, you didn't watch videos on 10 things you need to know. I don't do guides, right? I'm not going to watch a 10 things you need to know. I'm not going to watch an in-depth guide. I'm not going to get any, like... Aw. Yeah, I'm dumb. Why are we being like that? FTW, I am talking about a Mystic Spear hand, but I heard, like... I'm familiar with the Mystic Archer class, in that was one of the first ones they talked about, so I wasn't sure if Mystic was both. But yeah, Mystic Spear hand, that sounds fun. I'm going to be that. What? Oh, yeah, probably is. Okay, cool. Yes, that's the same person. You've subscribed. You've already linked your account with the Discord. Can't wait to enter the giveaway. Fantastic. Yes, that all works. Somebody, please ban Isla. She's being abusive. Who has the power to do that? That could be World of Warcraft. The background is definitely World of Warcraft. It's the Zangarmarsh zone from the Burning Crusade. Still one of the best zones in it because it has weird mushrooms. Not regular mushrooms, but weird mushrooms. And as you can see, also a spot of rain. What more do you want from World of Warcraft zone? Maybe some fire, but... Imagine turning up here. Imagine turning up here. Yeah, I can't. Oh, Ghost50, you've almost finished Robocop Rogue City as well. Yeah, I haven't started that. That was on sale in the last set of Steam sales for a nice, tasty price. So I've got it sitting there. I think I've got it installed and everything. It also works nicely with the VR Unreal Engine mod. Like quite a showpiece game for that, as far as I know. So, what is that in the water? It's making me want to play World of Warcraft now that you mention it. Yeah. Replicant's been playing it on a Silly Hunter, and you've been dungeon grinding, haven't you? I would like to do some dungeon grinding. I'd much rather it was more than just you, though. No disrespect, Replicant. I'm not saying you're not enough for me, but if it's just a Replicant, then that means 3 strangers as well. I would like it to be like 4 or 5 of us, and then I would dungeon run all day very happily. Not all day, I don't care all day, but you get what I'm saying. That would be a fun experience if I could trick some people into playing that game with us. Slay the Spire any good? Seems like Balatro, only not poker. So Slay the Spire is supposed to be a very good roguelike. I don't like roguelikes. I know that Replicant's been streaming World of Warcraft. I watched a little bit in the silent streaming dome of his Hunter. And it makes me want to play World of Warcraft. You need to try it, but you've never played before. Oh, we've wrote one in already. Slay the Spire is a card roguelike. There are lots of card roguelikes. Monster Train is a card roguelike as well. Off the top of my head from Game Pass, but it is quite a like busy genre or subgenre of roguelike. The card game ones. Barry, Hades is the one and only roguelike that has my seal of approval. I reckon there's a chance I would like Risk of Rain as well. Risk of Rain 2. That's another one I've been intending to try forever. But normally, what's the other one that people always come back to as a really good roguelike? The Castlevania-like one. Genuinely on top of the grid as soon as you got PC. So, we'll do it. Eradication, if you want to play some World of Warcraft, let us know, because I have it installed. I updated it today. That's how badly Replicant's got under my skin with his streaming it. I updated it today. Flush, you didn't get bored in Hades. That's impossible. It is like worth pointing out that I'm phenomenally brilliant at Hades. So where other people may have like hit some walls and got frustrated with the challenge in certain areas, not me, because I'm amazing. But I like Hades a lot. Also, in terms of playing games with people within the community, I do want to get more camera work going, more volunteers to come and make the streams feel more community-like. I don't like it to be my face, and I can't do a lot about the games being just my perspective, but I'd like to see other people's faces. The people that are confident and technically equipped to do that, be on the streams. Yeah, Hades is amazing. I mean, I would tell you my thoughts about Hades, but there's a video on the channel, which is a relatively recent Hades review. So, I'm on Top Chat, can't be on Top Chat, never have Top Chat. I use a tool that amalgamates the Twitch and the YouTube chats. So, everybody should be a Barry. People have faces. I'm getting confused. Yeah, people have faces. Most of them do, Pixel Slap, but I assume that's where the voices typically come from. I assume. Could be wrong. So nobody told me. A few people told me. Patrick's going to be a thief. Replicant's going to be magic. Like mage or sorcerer or whatever they have in there. With a tank pawn. Patrick, what's your pawn? Just... You know I'm talking about Dragon's Dogma, so when you answer that question, keep that context in mind. Tony, am I accepting all accounts to become members on Discord, even those that are newly created? Am I accepting all accounts to become members on Discord? Tony, what do you mean? What do you mean, Tony? I'm not immediately getting an influx of... You know how the Discord works. What's your question? You're confusing me. If you're talking about the competition, we're very specifically not trying to use that to inflate numbers artificially and all the rest of it. It is intended for the community and to encourage people to join it, but not to do the whole, like, follow this account, retweet everything, share it, grow the numbers artificially kind of thing. Mystic Spearhand is the best class. Balance mix between magic and melee. I think that's what I'm going to be, but I don't know yet. Garcia, you find Go Mecha Ball to be a more fun game than Hades. There's no way that you're not Gamsley. Someone track down Gamsley immediately. Like this second, before he's got a chance to get changed. When you switch that YouTube account, there's no way you're a different person. Nobody likes Go Mecha Ball. Yes, Gamsley is here. Fake name Gamsley. Tony, giveaways bring in new accounts to just win. That's why we're being very careful with that. There's an account with random numbers, but maybe it's legit. Garcia is Gamsley. I knew it. I knew it. Though not even Gamsley would say that it's more fun than Hades. No, I don't understand. Isla, you're in Discord alone. Yeah. I forgot about that. He uses OBS. Wait, who uses OBS? I use OBS, yeah. Who's asking that? Anyway, I'm getting confused. Let's do the next thing. The camera. Episode 13, I would use Discord. Like, if people have cameras and they wanted to join in on streams, they would use Discord and I would use OBS to pull the cameras in with some fancy masking and things like that. You don't need to worry about the technicalities of it. You just need to get your face onto Discord alongside your voice while we play games. Chronic and Baz are in Discord with a stream titled Tony's Slag Off Meeting. That's like, Tony, you probably named the stream that. Chronic said it doesn't add his camera though when he streams. I'm not asking you to stream gameplay, I'm asking you to stream your face. That's different. It's just joining a voice video call while we play games. Anyway. Well, now I know what Chronica said, episode 13. And I've spoken separately to Chronic about that and how to do it. And we'll happily talk to him again afterwards. But yeah, I can read it slowly, but I'll fall well behind if I start reading slowly. So, topics. Let's have a look at... which game should we look at first? Let's look at Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. That was a surprise one. I didn't expect GDC to have games being announced everywhere, but it had a few. It had this Marvel game. It had an MMORPG of a sort, Chrono something or other, which we'll have a look at as well. Maybe, if I remember. And some other bits and pieces. But the Marvel one was quite noteworthy. It's an Amy Hennig game who has history with Naughty Dog. Some mixed stories on what parts of their success should be attributed to her and what parts are of the remaining Naughty Dog people and all the rest of it. I don't know if it's if there's any animosity between them, but I don't think it was a particularly gracious exit from that studio. Then she went on to some other projects that never really panned out in that they were not completed. They literally never hit the market. But now she's working with Bandai Namco with the Marvel license on an Unreal Engine 5.4 game that had a quite noteworthy cinematic that I'm going to find right now. Not organized, so I'm finding it right now. YouTube. What did I say it was called? It's Marvel 1943. 1943 Rise of Hydra. On the Marvel channel? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do it on the official Marvel channel. It is for some reason in an ultra-wide Replicant and Tony format. But here it is. Barry, you thought it was an animation. Looked good, but you got to see more. You're not a Marvel fan. I kind of am, but Marvel's been oversaturated. But this taking it to 1943 and doing something unique on it. So apparently this trailer looks like you could easily mistake it for CGI because there's definitely no gameplay in it whatsoever. But it's not. It's running in real time on Unreal Engine 5.4 on who knows what kind of beastly rig to power it. But it is in engine. In fact, now that I'm looking at it closer in higher resolution, I can see that it's not CGI, but still, it's very, very impressive to look at. It's also well voice acted, well curated, and quite an interesting concept or setting to take Marvel and do something a bit different with it, to take it back to 1943. And it obviously features Black Panther and Captain America. If you haven't seen this already, do check it out properly with volume afterwards. And my big concern for it is it shows lots of running on the rooftops and stealth style concepts, which means I might actually hate this game when it comes out. Make sure to Tony. I don't think impregnate the like button is really going to catch on. I like caress the like button. That's my choice of phrase. It does look great, doesn't it, Replicant? Apart from being ultra wide, right? Why make a trailer just for you and Tony? Wasting so much of my screen right now that could be filled with pixels. Cyborg. Not sure about that. Anyway, Rise of Hydra. Revealed today. Coming out apparently in 2025. What do we think? Is it on the list as a game you're excited about? I'm surprised. Bandai Namco obviously do license games. They've got their Dragon Ball game we'll have a look at in a bit as well. Things like that. But the Marvel license, Disney definitely like to license things out at the moment. And EA have very recently announced that they're going to try and move away from that because the whole industry is making Star Wars and Marvel games now. And EA are going to try and make a little break away from it because Disney take a lot of money for those licenses. But Replicant, you're a bit wary of Unreal Engine 5 on the current consoles. Rightly so, based on performance that we've seen, and obviously the visual targets that they showed in that trailer are a step above what you'd expect these consoles to do. So I get that concern, but Go Mecha Ball has great mechanics that Sega could use to make a good 3D Sonic game. If I liked the feel of Go Mecha Ball, I would agree with you there. But I didn't. PlayStation 5 Pro, and it's a machine learning upscaling cutout. We'll talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro a little bit later. Get people's thoughts on that one and what you're seeing of it. I see lots of things on the social medias that obviously make my brain want to evacuate this planet. Which is why I try to stay off of the social medias a fair amount. Your son used to love that show. Teen Titans, I see. I finally got around to listening to the Digital Foundry video on it today. I didn't listen to the Digital Foundry video. Flush, Mag on Cult Show said some wild things about what a Respawn dev told him about the PlayStation 5 Pro upscaler, and various people have come out and said that was bullshit and all the rest of it, right? The thing about that, Flush, that particular rumor, is if it was true, how ridiculously irresponsible would it be to say that, to name drop Respawn on a podcast, against a backdrop of Sony investigating to find out the source of leaks around the dev kit? Mate, of course you can't say that. Respawn leaked it. If there was truth to it, the number of people within Respawn that have access to the PlayStation 5 Pro dev kit is going to be controlled. Like, you can't. I heard the rumor going around. I was like, if you got a real source, you properly screwed them over. And if it's complete bullshit, which is more likely, then you've screwed yourself over. Think then talk. But never mind, never mind. Yeah, no, I've seen it's been generally dismissed, and you know, source of a source or whatever, I don't know. Not all games are for all gamers, absolutely, Garcia. And Go Mecha Ball is sitting there on Game Pass for anyone to try, so have at it. If you're not on Game Pass, you can always pick it up on Steam and have at it. For me, I played it because Gamsley recommended it, and he said that I would like it because it felt like Hades, and it does not feel like Hades. And you know this because you have some connection to Gamsley. It's the only explanation that I've got. Flush, tuning out of that stuff from here on out, that's some silliness. I've been reasonably outspoken on the leaks and things in the past, so I don't need to repeat myself. Because I want to talk about the games instead. You're super excited for the Ubisoft Star Wars game, Eradication and Flush. I'm not, because it's yet more Star Wars playing yet. I don't know, you never know, it could be really good. Ubisoft are strong on the technical side of things. Their games look very solid and perform very well, and are crafted by formula more often than not. So, and it is in the Star Wars universe as like smuggler of some kind, right? I warn you if I'm going onto Discord because you're doing a hot water bottle. You don't want an echo. I haven't actually got Discord properly open at the moment, so you warn me if anyone puts themselves in the waiting room. Normally on this show, I do invite people to come on Discord and have a little chat, but typically it doesn't happen, so I haven't actually set up properly for that. However, if somebody wants to come on and have a little chat, it would take seconds to sort it out, probably, more or less. Fool you once, shame on you. Fool you twice. Wow. Yeah, never mind. Never mind. What else have we got? What else have we got? I've forgotten what topic I'm even on right now. Oh yeah, the Marvel game. Nothing else to say about that. Comes out in 2025. Looks very good. Could tell an interesting story. Could be a stealth-focused disaster game that makes me very sad. Anyway, you know, it would be one that I would ignore. You could talk about Dragon Ball. Nah. Nah. I think we're gonna get to the end now. Ubisoft have done a great job with Avatar. It's a graphical masterpiece on PC. Yeah, it is graphically really impressive, the Avatar game. And I like that they kind of differentiated it from their other games to a degree in terms of cleaning up the interface and making it much more minimal. You like the gameplay and the story? I got lost more often than not navigating the world and didn't get on to... Was it fun? It's a really good game. It is a really good game, I think. And yet I didn't play it more than a few hours. I couldn't tell anyone that it was bad though from what I played of it. It does have... it's very, very minimal in terms of interface and HUD. And it uses... intelligent world building to show you where you're supposed to go. Intelligent artistic design to lay the paths out in front of you. But I missed most of it because I was distracted, so I spent most of my time running around lost. It is a big chunk of game, which more often than not works against most games because I've not got the capacity to play that many big chunks of game at once. Ubisoft sub for a month might be a good idea to sample a bunch of games. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Ubisoft sub. I'm an idiot and I just keep my subs running, but yeah, that's how I played it too. And now I've got Skull and Bones installed and all the rest of those. Even with the Ubisoft stuff, like sub, I don't touch Far Cry and Assassin's Creed particularly, which makes me the biggest mug for having that subscription. Let's talk about... tell me, what should we talk about? Let's talk about the games or the PlayStation hardware. Let's talk about PlayStation hardware first of all. So, for those that don't know, which is nobody, I'm sure you all have seen by now, the PlayStation 5 Pro specs leaked and have essentially been confirmed by the fact that Sony are investigating to see where the leaks came from. Yes, eradication, go to bed if you need to go to bed, absolutely. Don't stay here and miss out on sleep. We'll still be around tomorrow. They also, the leaks were ratified and confirmed by Tom Henderson as well, who has been spot on accurate with leaks about every single bit of PlayStation hardware for the last 5 years or something. So you can say with a high degree of confidence that what we've seen about this console is what is going to come out. And Digital Foundry have ratified it as well. Okay, good. So, important stat, the first top of the list of what was leaked was a 45% faster rendering pipeline. So, how fast it draws a frame is 45% quicker than the PlayStation 5, which is a significant bump. It's not a 30 frames to 60 frames bump if people are looking for a direct, like, what it can do comparison in that sense. If you wanted to go from 30 frames to 60 frames, you need a 100% increase in speed, assuming that your game was bottlenecked in that particular way and happened to be, like, exactly limited to 30 frames per second, which is not realistically the case. It's way more complicated than that. But bottom line, 45% faster, 45% more powerful if you want to put it down to a singular metric in that sense, which you shouldn't. It also has, right underneath that, a teraflop listing. Teraflops are a weird spec that have been overly used and overly dismissed on many occasions because it's a very, very simplistic metric that says how many calculations you can run on the GPU. Very, like, basic frequency times number of units or whatever. The Xbox Series X has 12 teraflops of power on its GPU. PlayStation 5 has a variable, they up and down clock, so the teraflops are between, I think, like 9 and 10.2 or something. So when they came out and said that the PlayStation 5 Pro has 33.5 teraflops of power, that got people's attention, because they were going, wow, this thing's 3 times more powerful than the PlayStation 5, if you believe that particular metric, which some people have a tendency to, which doesn't marry up to the previous stat that is 45% faster. It can't be 3 times more powerful and 45% faster. Those things don't align. So realistically, when you look into it a little bit deeper, it's because AMD introduced a little dual compute, like run 2 instructions at the same time kind of gimmick on their GPUs. That basically means they're double counting the teraflop figure in a way that doesn't play out in real world performance on the cards that they've already released that have this same kind of feature. So realistically, you should be halving that and saying it's like, yeah, 16 to 17 kind of teraflops. And much like the PlayStation 5, that figure is going to fluctuate. So that's its peak performance. In practice, it will be lower. It's going to be, I would think, between 16 and 18 teraflops. Like, not it's going to land somewhere in between, but it will literally clock up and down between those figures. Which is still a pretty, it's not an insignificant jump over the PlayStation 5 and over the Xbox Series X. But it's also not going to set the world on fire. It's a nice little improvement. But like Replicant has said just there, the dark horse in there that we know less about is it features some machine learning hardware for upscaling techniques. Which, if you are a nerd and you follow upscaling within games and things, then you'll be familiar with FSR and DLSS and all the rest of it. AMD have typically been a long way behind Nvidia and Intel in terms of how they upscale. This is a really boring topic, and I'm making it even more boring with the way that I'm delivering it. I apologize sincerely, but essentially in the PlayStation 5 Pro, you've got an AI upscaler that might be a dark horse in terms of performance, because upscaling is a very, very powerful way to better use the resources that you got in a console. You can save a lot of performance by doing all the hard work, all of the rasterization and the ray tracing at a lower quality, and using your upscaler to claw it up to a visual fidelity that people would expect, a resolution that people would expect, and potentially even a frame rate that people would expect. We don't know how good the AI upscaler is. It's not something that AMD have any form in. And the techniques that they're using are Sony labeled. It is Sony's PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution or something they're calling it, which means that it does have probably Mark Kearney's hand in the process as well. Which is Mark Kearney, Mark Sony, you know the fella. It's Sony custom silicon. Is the AI chip entirely custom? I bet it's not. I bet the like the hardware has to be coming from AMD, doesn't it? I think the actual hardware is that's interesting. I would have guessed that like from the name of it, some of the upscaling technique, algorithm, AI, whatever you want to call it, is definitely proprietary Sony. It's built into the GPU. Okay, cool. So Sony have reasonable form in upscaling, in that before upscaling was particularly like cool, before a lot of the industry had recognized how significant it was going to be going forwards, they did come up with a checkerboard rendering solution on the PlayStation 4 and Pro. Checkerboard rendering isn't particularly sexy and nice, but it did introduce use of a depth buffer in upscaling. So when you're no, it's too much, it's too boring, too technical. I'm going to drop that entirely, and we'll talk about that separately for the people that have an interest in that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about the processor in the PlayStation 5 Pro. So one thing that a lot of people have latched onto is, for all of this extra graphics power that it's got and the AI chip that it's got to help in kind of pushing that even further, it has essentially the same processor as the PlayStation 5, like very small 10% upclock in best case scenarios. But how are we thinking? Does this scare people? Does this make you think, well, because obviously social media is full of idiots, but it's split between camps of people that say, well, if it's got the same processor, it's a useless console, I don't understand why they're making it, and people that say it doesn't matter at all, like it's all good, we just love everything that Sony do. What do people think here? Are you concerned by the processor? How do you feel about the processors in the current gen consoles? Because for me, so Replicant, you're excited about the overall console. Do you think that the processor is going to bottleneck it significantly? Do you think it's going to be a big problem? It's a tricky question, because I think the processors in these consoles, they're a long way behind what you can get in the PC space, but I don't think they're ill-equipped to deliver 60 frames per second games. In the PC space, normally when you're pairing up like a really high-end graphics card, like a 4090 or something, and you're chasing a processor to get the most out of it, you can get very tangible, very measurable differences in performance in accordance with what processor you pair with that graphics card. But normally you're talking about the difference between like 180 and 220 frames per second. Normally in the PC space, when people get all uppity about having to have a processor that can support the speed of the graphics card, you are talking about extremes of rendering buffers. So obviously different games are doing different things and putting different loads on the processor, and you can talk about examples of like Grand Theft Auto 6 is a big one that's going around, because Rockstar have a tendency to push world simulation. And it could be that Rockstar have targeted 30 frames per second all along, absolutely, and that's all they're going to be able to do on the PS5 Pro as well. And this is the example that Digital Foundry were using as well. But at the same time, I think there's a general sense, particularly amongst Xbox influencers and that side of the community, that the current gen consoles are going to be reduced to 30 frames per second boxes because it's all that they can do. And it doesn't seem to be particularly evidence-based just yet, because there aren't that many games stuck at 30. There are not that many games stuck at 30. Time will tell. Like, you have got things that are pushing these consoles hard, but I look at what they did on the previous generation with the Jaguar mobile-based, terrible at the point of launch processors that they had, and the new ones are such an order of magnitude better than that. So I don't know, it's just going to sit there and be a dev decision on whether they target 30 or whether they target 60 for the baseline experience. And the fact that the PlayStation 5 Pro console is probably going to have the same like baseline for what the experience is isn't terrible news to me. That's what I expect from a mid-gen kind of console. But plus you can shift devices to the living room. You got all the wiring for it plumbed, so it's just a matter of unplugging and moving. It takes 2 minutes tops. I've got everything in the same room. My PC, my Xbox and my PlayStation are all here ready for streaming and stuff. Peak Unagi, you think the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution could be the real deciding factor in how far the hardware can push games along with upgrades? There's a big open question on whether they're attempting frame gen or not, that I don't think anyone has a decisive answer to. Whether Sony's AI upscaling includes frame gen. Because if they're targeting that, if they're trying to put something in there that literally takes the game from 30 frames to 60, then that would be very interesting indeed. But frame gen is... It's a tricky box of tricks. It's a very new technology. It's weird because I see some people look at it like frame gen is inserting fake frames, right? It's taking data between two frames and it's generating a fake one, and therefore it's the same as like a feature that you could enable on your TV, and that's not true. The technology hasn't necessarily got there yet, but the difference between a GPU rendered frame and an AI created nonsense frame doesn't have to be significant to the way that a game feels and controls. There's like, you can see the concepts and the theory that AI generated frame would be every bit as interactive as a GPU rendered frame. There's not a meaningful distinction between them if they can get to that point with AI being fast enough and concise enough and accurate enough to make that frame just as good and to understand the inputs that you've got as a player. Which means in terms of rendering power going forwards, it has massive potential, but I don't know that Sony and AMD are the ones to get it right. And this is why the AI chip and hardware in this console really is like, it's a massive dark horse in terms of what this thing can and can't do. I expect to be disappointed because everything hypothetical takes a little while to become reality. But it's nice to dream. Maybe there's like a magic super secret sauce in this thing. There's not. Don't quote me as there being magic secret super sauce. It's just an interesting concept. Interesting thing to think that they could potentially be even attempting something like that. More likely this gen is not going to have any kind of frame gen whatsoever. But the technology does exist. It is getting worked on and refined by everybody everywhere, so you never know. You never know. Anyway, Flash with third party probably moving away from exclusivity, it also points towards PC hardware, or at least holding steady until a big leap. With PC Day and Date, you're just not incentivized to spend money on Sony hardware at this point. PC Day and Date, I get what you're saying. I'm just not sure how soon that is happening still. I'm not sure how soon that's happening and how broad and how big in scope. But Pete, we're still waiting for PlayStation and Series X to show us something special. This is a funny thing about this generation. A lot of people have been disappointed by this generation, and a lot of the reason is the nature of software being cross-gen between them. And the bad news is those same people are going to be disappointed next gen as well, because the same thing will be true. There's advantages and there's downsides to every like path and approach that these companies can take with the technology. There are massive advantages for them in the way that they smoothed off the generational bump, in that it really helps the commercials of making a video game. Really helps the commercials of making a video game. They can afford to make a big budget game on a new console because this big budget game can also sell to the audience of that previous console. And that's a new kind of paradigm and dynamic that was introduced kind of for this generation. And it is primarily, I think, the reason that we don't see games that drop our jaws on the current like suite of consoles, because the whole process of transitioning from one to the other has been very smooth and very slow, and it will be next gen as well. Like Xbox are going to do their brand new generation of hardware that's the biggest leap in console hardware ever, or whatever Sarah Bond has said about it, and for the first 2 years all the games they release are going to work on the Xbox Series X, because that's just what a generation is to them now. So you're not going to see it in the same way. You're not going to get experiences that are like, whoa, that couldn't be done on the previous console, because the industry moved away from that. Microsoft moved hard away from that. Will the Switch 2 keep our digital libraries intact from the Switch 1? Has Nintendo commented on that at all? Nintendo have definitely not commented on that at all. Nintendo haven't even commented on the existence of a Switch 2, I don't think, and what it's really going to be. Except that they said it's not just going to be another Switch. There's been fairly strong rumors that they are aware of the demand for maintaining some kind of backwards compatibility on that thing, but we're not going to know until we know on that one. No. And yes, Replicant, you said that the Pro is going to be great for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Absolutely. And for people that enjoy playing on a console, Dragon's Dogma 2 is another obvious candidate for it, from what we've seen of the performance metrics over there. As well as pretty much everything that's come out on Unreal Engine 5 so far. There's plenty of room. Nice mug. When the green screen allows it, yeah, right now it goes transparent. My green screen takes away all of the stuff, but it is a very nice mug. There are some nice things on that little merch store for those that want some merch. Anyway, that's enough PlayStation 5 Pro. Personally, I think I would like to get one. Whether I'll be able to get one or not is like remains to be seen. See the old financial situation when we get there and all that, you know, but it would be nice to have one. Is the merch store USA friendly? Yes, Flush, more so than UK friendly. The merch store is unfriendly to me. I made a nice t-shirt for the Xbox Series podcast and I've uploaded, like, I've set that up 4 times now and it keeps just disappearing from the store and I don't know why. But, yeah, there is some nice stuff on there. So, what else have we got? The Dragon Ball game. Let's do the Dragon Ball game. Real quick, if I can find the trailer for it. Dragon Ball Sparkling 0 or something? It's got a silly name. Sparkling 0. Sparking 0. Same thing. Interesting. On the official Bandai Namco. It's always tricky on the old Dragon Ball content to determine whether you're going to have a space in Dragon Ball or not. Shouldn't be tricky, but it is. In this case, the official title of the game is to have a space. It looks like all of the other Dragon Ball games. Right? Looks like all of the other ones. It looks nice and crisp and clean. And has that weird anime flying combat that I've never really taken the time to unpeel. They're just button mash games to me. Button mash, fly around, make everything sparkle and explode. But it's nice to see they've at least nailed the art style and stuff, right? Why is it called Sparkling 0? How's Master Roshi gonna fly? Many questions. How much can you demolish the city in the background? A bit from that little explosion. Sparking is a thing. 0, not so sure. Fair enough. I don't know. I don't know what this game is. Yay, that bridge blew up. I'm going to buy it. Not the bridge, the game. So yeah, that's Dragon Ball. It's a game. Looks like Dragon Ball. Yes, it is, Isla. But I don't know what those 3 games are either. How they differ from the many other ones that look the same. What were they called? The Xeno, whatever it was once. How many innocent bystanders die in Dragon Ball with all of this Omega level explosions? Yes. Dragon Ball's not the only thing guilty of like that kind of silliness though, right? Yes, many things blow up. Especially if I'm playing it, then everything blows up. Ideally. Yeah, so I'm going to play that. I'm going to main Mr. Satan, and it's going to be a terrible time. Come play PlayStation 2 with you. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. Plus, you're just getting coffee, and then a nuclear blast takes you out from a brawl, yeah. And you won't even know, like, you just be in a building, and then suddenly you're unalived. If you're lucky, it was a blast. If not, you've got, like, the other fighter has just A-trained you and thrown into you and splattered you everywhere. Could be. Anyway, that's that game. I'm running out, but I wanted to show the Chrono one. It's the last thing that I want to show because it's curious and I don't know anything about it. Really, I am... Yeah, I'm just going to show it. I'm going to show it. Beware, here it comes. Is this the correct trailer? Footage captured on PC. Oh, so they're calling it footage. Here we go. Footage captured on PC. Chrono Odyssey, I think, was revealed at GDC today as well. It's coming to PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles. And what makes it interesting to me is they describe it as an MMORPG. A time-bending, massively multiplayer online RPG. Time-bending, open-world, massively multiplayer online RPG. This isn't the trailer that I saw earlier. This actually is a game. Is it real? That's the question for everyone to answer. Is this a real game? Is it an MMORPG? This is actually a very different trailer to the one I saw earlier. This one actually shows some game stuff. The other one was entirely like cinematic. Where do the other players come in? How does it work? MMORPGs are difficult enough without trying to manipulate time. Is it gonna actually... It doesn't look... I want to believe that this is like a persistent open world with other players in it that has meaningful and deep MMORPG mechanics. It just doesn't actually look like that's what it is. Curious, huh? Looks like a Souls game. I wouldn't say it looks like a Souls game particularly, but there are other players in that little encounter, but that doesn't make it an MMORPG. That makes it a game with some co-op. Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, weird one. What is this? Chrono Odyssey. It was announced today, Replicant. It has a Steam page up and running, so you can have a look at it. But it's supposed to be an MMORPG. Oh, there's a lot of players. There was a lot of players. Interesting. This is not the trailer that I saw going like ahead of this show. It's from a studio who are named for the game. They're Chrono something or other. So there's no like pedigree to call on and say who this studio are, what it is that they've delivered before, and how realistic this thing is. You'd hope that they had to have like a little something about them to be allowed to reveal things at GDC. Yeah, no, you can't have time manipulation with other players around. It doesn't make any sense. It was definitely looking like a world boss, yes. But no one's gonna like rewind time while you're fighting a world boss with 30 other players. Who knows? Maybe this will be the best thing ever. It does, yeah, Black Desert, it does look like, and Crimson Desert, but Crimson Desert stripped back being an MMORPG and became a single player game to execute what it does in its trailer. And even then, nobody knows if that one's going to be real. Chrono Odyssey. Oh, it does have, it says NPixel and Gameplex. Never heard of them. Should you be able to hear my video feed? No, I could make it so that you could hear my video feed. I have a handy slider to do that, but I did not enable the video feed for that. Typically, if trailers are voiced, then it's awkward to talk over other people's voices, so I don't often put trailer noise on. But I do have the power. Very powerful. Very powerful. Anyway, this is end time. Isla, if there are any questions, please present questions. And we'll go through those, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll be all ready for the Xbox Series podcast tomorrow, where we'll talk about many things through the lens of Xbox. First question, any tips for cable management? Currently ripping your hair out, buying a monitor arm. So Nate State Games, my best tip for cable management is to take some of that hair that you've ripped out and use it to tie cables together in an elegant figurine, which I'm the worst person to ask about cable management. I have about 3 cables wrapped around my toes at this very moment in time that aren't supposed to be there. My PC has the sides of the case blown off. Because my current setup is so complicated, I can't even count the number of wires that I can see right now, and I couldn't tell you what a single one of them does, apart from the ones that I can like literally see what they're plugged into. No, I have no advice for cable management. Don't chew them. Stephen Southwick, anyone playing Alone in the Dark? You were looking forward to it, but the reviews are not great. Good question. I wasn't particularly looking forward to it, but it's always a shame to see like a bad landing as that game has had. I've not actually listened or read the reviews to find out like what kind of problems people have with it. Chrono Odyssey Chronic was the last game. So if anyone here has played Alone in the Dark or intends to, then speak up on your experience with it, because I have no experience and I can't tell you what's going on there. I have no particular affinity for Alone in the Dark as a series. I never played the original ones or anything, so it's not high on my list of things to do. FCW, no question, just here to bitch one last time that the Dragon's Dogma 2 preload is still not on Steam. Having slow internet is painful. FCW, I feel for you. I do. I lived those days for a while. Dragon's Dogma, I think the preloads have been available on console for a little while, haven't they? But they hold it back on PC to... I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth keeping back data miners at the moment. I don't know why it's so held back on Steam. But FTW, it will still be just as good a game in 7 days or whatever it's going to take you to download it on your remote little connection. Replicant, has Xbox misread the gen by not having a mid-gen refresh? If the Pro delivers, the Series X is going to become even less desirable. Optics will show the PlayStation holds a technical advantage and market share. I think that's tricky to say whether they've misread it or not. I think Xbox have misread a lot of things that might dictate their strategy. Chief among them being they misread appetite for their subscription service and their cloud service. I think a lot of what they did, it has been like more led by Game Pass and cloud than it has been by console. The console strategy from the off, mid-gen refreshes don't make sense to Microsoft anymore, really, in a world where they're already like Sony make PlayStation 5 games and they do what they do to leverage the PlayStation 5, and it is their console and it is their like baseline and all the rest of it. But whenever Microsoft make any kind of game, and whenever their third-party publishers and partners make any kind of game, they are scalable and multi-platform by default because they have to be to cover the PC side of things. So a mid-gen console for them isn't meaningfully different to a next-gen console because of how like the extent to which Microsoft has smoothed over the generational divide. It's not a meaningful distinction. Like Sony are doing a PlayStation 5 Pro, and in order to like maintain compatibility and play it as safe as they can, they're using the same processor as they had in the PlayStation 5, and that screams that this is going to be like make the same games. Your baseline is not changing from what the game is, what your frame rate targets are going to be, what features you can include, and all the rest of it. This is a mid-gen console. But for Microsoft, they don't behave in the same way. Their next console being at whatever point in time they do it, like with the Xbox One X, the Xbox One X didn't have the same, like, it didn't have a compatibility mode. Microsoft are already better at doing that. The next proper next-gen console that they do is going to be fully compatible with everything from this generation, because they already know how to do that. They did that last time around, and they're going to keep it going forwards, and they're going to keep their backwards and forwards compatibility stuff going forwards. They're going to keep their smart delivery going forwards. So I don't think they misread in that sense. I think their strategy is like still correct in that sense. Their timing is very awkward. They're going to have a little over a year of some very difficult optics where they are well behind on power and market share, like you say. But at the same time, the console space isn't that important to them. So it's like, did they misread it? I mean, what's a year to Microsoft? What's a year of being behind to PlayStation to Microsoft? They can fund that, can't they? If they get that next console right, and it has more of a thud and more of an impact than a pro console would have done, then you'd look at it and say, yeah, they made the right decision. They read the room correctly. Replicant, the one thing Digital Foundry mentioned, Sony has made it easy for current PlayStation 5 games to use the super resolution on the Pro. Spectra or whatever it is. Yeah. So the PlayStation 4 Pro, I really didn't like what Sony did with the PlayStation 4 Pro. And typically on that and on the PlayStation 5, and when you look at what they do with back compat and things like that, I think they're way too cautious, way too risk averse on the technical level. Because they made it so that the PlayStation 4 Pro, if a game didn't have a Pro patch, then it ran exactly like a PlayStation 4. When the thing came out, they stripped it down so that it literally downclocked to be, you're playing this game on a PlayStation 4, your hardware that you spent extra money on isn't actually doing anything unless the developers go and enable it. And over time they added the little boost mode, and then they eventually made that the default way to play. But they're doing similar with this by using the same processor and being like, we need to do this to make sure we ensure compatibility with the library of PlayStation 5 games. You look at that and you contrast it to Microsoft, you wouldn't get that issue on the Xbox side. When they do a next-gen console, you know that every single game on the Xbox Series consoles is going to work on their next one. So I don't think they need to, I don't think a pro mid-gen thing makes sense in their world anymore, and I think they are big enough and have a clear enough vision of where they want to go that they don't need to respond to what Sony are doing. They need to do what they're doing if they've got any chance. They can't be responsive and reactive to what's going on in the console space if they want world domination in the mobile, PC, cloud and console space. So, but it is going to be an interesting year and a half or whatever it's going to be. You think the Xbox mid-gen is going to be a handheld version of the Series S? Maybe. I don't know how viable that is. Like, when the thing came out and people were talking about it, it definitely wasn't viable. Just the sheer size of the S and the power that it draws to run would have made it not so, but when enough years pass, it has to be, right? I don't know if we've got to that point yet or not. I try not to keep too close a tabs on AMD's roadmap and all the rest of it. So maybe a handheld that can, it doesn't need to be a Series S in a handheld, but it needs to like at least meet that baseline. Whether AMD have some hardware that Microsoft could say, yeah, this is going to run the games. Hopefully. I don't personally want a handheld, I don't care for it, but won't do me any harm if it can meet or surpass the Series S. So. Plus, that had to be the case given that the console gen hasn't delivered on much of a bespoke experience outside of what haptics. I like the haptics and the stuff. No, you're right. Yeah. Wait. Next question. Replicant, how has Microsoft allowed Sony to bring machine learning to consoles first? Machine learning was supposed to be part of the Series X feature set. You feel that they've been a bit outplayed. That's a very valid point. There is supposed to be actual machine learning hardware in the Series X and Series S, and before those consoles even came out, they were demonstrating machine learning features for Direct. I was going to say DirectX. So Direct is like, it's a Microsoft library, and they had Direct ML, and they had Direct ML super sampling or super res or whatever, using machine learning to upscale resolution. And they used, I can remember the car, like it was I can't remember the model, but it was like a blue car or the number plate, and they used that to demonstrate what their machine learning upscaling could do. And presumably it can't actually do it. Like, there's something wrong with that for it not to be featured anywhere in anything that the Series X is doing. So yeah, I don't know how they've been outplayed and outmaneuvered there. I do know that Microsoft have the capacity to make their own machine learning and like machine learning hardware and chips going forward. So like their focus when they do these things, when they've got their AI chip manufacturing facilities in order, obviously their focus isn't console, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be featured in the console either. So I don't know, when Sarah Bond is talking about this giant leap in technology, as far as we know, they've not even established the partner that they're going to use between like AMD, Intel and Nvidia and all the rest of it. So they must be basing this off of the stuff that they're doing elsewhere as well, specs they've got in mind and all the rest of it. If Xbox isn't planning their next gen in 2026, then it's going to be a long generation for them with the Pro. I think it's 2026 at the latest, yeah. Giant leap in technology makes you think it isn't 2026. No, I still think it is. Obviously, I don't know anything on that front and could be entirely wrong. And if I am entirely wrong, I'll be quite disappointed because I'm a 3-year console person. For me, they've always, like, since the 360, consoles have started to feel a bit long in the tooth when they're 3 years old. So. Plus, you want to believe Sarah Bond, but you guess we'll find out regardless. I don't think, like, obviously you can, there's truth and truth. I think there is some meaningful, believable metric where it is a big leap between previous gen and this gen. I don't think she's completely pulling out of her ass. How much of this giant leap will be like tangible, noticeable, and not masked by the diminishing returns that we're seeing in hardware increases these days remains to be seen. But I think the next Xbox will be, finish the sentence, a giant leap for Sarah. I can't, Tom. I'm not sure what you're getting at. I would start doing the predictive text on my phone or whatever, but then I'd feel like I was falling into some social media string trap nonsense. Could be hyperbole. They're always going to go to the hyperbole a little. It's their job to sell the things. Reason you're unsure 2026 is AMD will still be on RDNA 4. Do you reckon they are sticking with AMD? What if it's RDNA 4 but Microsoft do have their own custom, like their own custom stuff in there that is responsible for the giant leap she's talking about? You'd love them to go Nvidia. I still think Intel are the ones. I'd obviously love them to go Nvidia, but I don't think Nvidia have any appetite or necessity to do console. Like to chase that. Console is traditionally really low margin. That's how AMD took hold of them all in the first place. Is like Nvidia didn't really compete because there's not that much money from them, and Nvidia are AI giants. They're valued at like over 3 billion now, and they just keep on growing because the tech sector cares more about AI than anything else right now, and Nvidia are monsters there. I just like their stuff's expensive, too expensive for a console, and I don't think they need to do anything about that. Whereas Intel stuff, like it would be massive for them to get into the console space because it would make their PC hardware and like software maturity just jump leaps and bounds and make them. If you're looking at GPU market share, consoles suddenly count for Intel, because that would count as market share as far as game development goes. So I think the serious competition for AMD in terms of like actual commercial offerings will be Intel, and I think Intel architecturally, like they're new in that space and they're not as advanced as Nvidia, but they seem to balance their hardware a lot more along the lines of Nvidia than AMD do. AMD not managed to particularly compete with Nvidia whatsoever, and I think Intel can. Plus, the Nvidia CEO just came out and said, hey guys, don't learn to code, just learn to use AI. So the marketing push is alive and well. Self-driving cars, yeah, I mean, AI is worth a lot to them. So, I don't know. We'll see though, right? They'll probably end up sticking with AMD and their console will be exactly the same as whatever PlayStation are doing, and it will remain boring in the hardware space. You don't like AI. I am AI, so I resent that. Anyway, you don't like AI. You can't employ people to upscale frames manually in the space of 7 milliseconds. There's no way that you can get a person qualified to sit inside your Xbox and make the lines smoother before they hit the screen. Replicant. That's the question I already had. Let's have the next one, please. Steven Southwick, if people played Hogwarts Legacy on last gen, then they'd see that this gen was a pretty big improvement. Yeah, anyone that says that this gen is like underwhelming and all the rest of it could do with reminding themselves what it felt like to play on the previous generation of consoles. Sitting there for like a minute and a half waiting for a level to load or whatever it was. And that's not to be completely dismissive of the stuff that people are saying about like wanting to see worlds collide and explode and AI take meaningful strides, as in like NPC AI take meaningful strides forwards and all the rest of it. I do get that. The fundamentals of game design have not shifted drastically between generations. I'm not being dismissive. I learned AI cannot stop people doing things that they enjoy doing. Can't. If you enjoy doing something, you do it for enjoyment. That's no problem, eh? If you like making music, doesn't matter that AI can make music, doesn't stop you from making music. You like drawing pictures, doesn't matter that AI can draw pictures, you can still go and draw pictures. That's what the joy of creating things is all about. Going and creating things because you can. If you tie it into what the labor is worth, then hey, mine's not worth anything anyway, so I have little stake in that. Favorite JoJo part? Main character and villain? Oh, Barry, I don't know. I don't know. I mostly like Jotaro's hat. I'm not a massive JoJo fan. I didn't like Stone Ocean very much. What about you, Barry? Do you have favorites there? And I'm not very good at picking favorites. People, like, I get asked sometimes, like, favorite game in this series and favorite character in this and favorite bit of music in that one. I'm terrible at weighing it up and making a decision. Don't know why, but which Barry? One of you've got so many Barrys, Tom. This was the Barry. What is your name? Barry the Zalanin. What's the Zalanin? Go to Rampucci. Yeah, maybe. Let's have the next question, please. Can't remember where that one was created. Right. Oh no, Tom, if the simulation... Wait. If the simulation all the people here live in brought us to you, do we live in a different version to the masses, have free will, or does the whole world eventually end up finding Asa? It depends, because the simulation all the people live here brought you to me. Do you have free will, or was it... It depends, Tom, on whether you're actually real or whether you're part of the simulation or not, which is very difficult for me to determine. I'm trying. The fact that you are here leads me to believe you're probably not real. You probably are part of the simulation. But I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that you're real and have free will and are for some reason choosing to be here, which is where the whole thing becomes like slightly, you know, hard to believe at that point. I choose to believe it, Tom. You choose what you want to believe, and once you've done that, once you've chosen what you want to believe, then by definition you have free will, right? You chose to believe it or not. So going with that, that's my answer. It's not a whole answer, it's what you're getting for the time being. Next question, please. Baz has sent some shifty eyes. I can only read that out, and that was the end of the question. So it finished up with Baz's shifty eyes. So there we go. I thought today would run for an hour. That was my plan, but it's not. It's run a bit longer. Apologies for starting late. Everyone's smoking crack. Not me, Baz. Perfect, Tom. I look forward to it. You don't want the show to be over. I'm afraid it is. It is over. It is. This is the end. But tomorrow has the Xbox Series podcast. Friday, I think I will try and do a chunky Dragon's Dogma scream. Yeah, that's it. I'm just going to fire up Dragon's Dogma and I'm going to scream for a few hours. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. Tomorrow just has Xbox Series podcast. Maybe I'll do something in the afternoon, maybe I won't, but I don't know what yet. I will let you know. For now though, this is the end. Blah.
Asa, Game On Daily.
I lied, I forgot to say, don't forget, there's a competition running on the Discord. So get in there. Make sure I don't think you need to do anything except opt out if you don't want to be a part of it. And it's a good place. Gaming Arcadia. Get involved. Good night. Have a good one.
Asa, Game On Daily.